moving on to yet another big letdown by a lot of the people that voted for Trump. We're sorry to inform you, but it sounds like Jay Scott was right on his initial prediction about how Ukraine was going to unfold. Let's look at this. This is Marco Rubio's, well, this is from Splinter Observer. Ukraine plan consists of parts A and B. The plan to end the conflict in Ukraine consists of parts A and B. Part A involves a ceasefire, while Part B refers to a meeting of the parties at the negotiating table with the possible participation of mediators, the U.S. Secretary said. Rubio noted that negotiations can only begin after a ceasefire, whereas we know that Putin's stance and Russia's stance is you have to negotiate. It's the reverse. He's got it backwards. He knows he's got it backwards. What the hell does he think this is going from here? This is what we call an actual stalemate. I just want to put, before your thoughts on this, I'm going to put our friend of the show, Patrick Henningsen, says, it is now abundantly clear that Marco Rubio, State Department, has fumbled the so-called ceasefire deals in Ukraine and Gaza, a complete failure on both counts. Now he's fronting an additional war with Yemen and signaling an attack on Iran rather than do his job. He's more preoccupied with attacking student protesters, and we covered that earlier, on U.S. college campuses and attacking our First Amendment, presuming on behalf of Israel lobby, than actually doing his job as our top diplomat overseas. He's been trying to pretend to be the Secretary of State for the last month, but the act wore thin already. Now he's back to little Senator Rubio, a petty partisan operative under the thumb of a clueless Trump, and whose top priority is carrying water for AIPAC, Mary Madison, and his mentor, Paul Singer. A catastrophic failure. Jay, can you tell us, is it for those still holding on hope, for those who maybe they're realizing that the Israel thing is pretty much, we're pretty much screwed when it comes to Iran protecting Palestine. We're pretty much screwed there. But for anybody holding out hope that this deal to end the Ukraine conflict is still happening and is still worth maybe their vote for Trump, was that we were going to end this one thing, one last World War III on the table. Tell them a reality check, Jay, because I think you got this right at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. I went back and forth on it a little bit because my gut was telling me, like, Trump is going to, like just keep on with the same policy, but he's saying the right things before he wins because he knows it's a deeply unpopular war. That's what my gut was telling me. And then I'm someone, I'll always admit when I'm wrong. And I saw the reality on the ground was it did kind of look like Trump sent one representative to go calm down the Europeans and then someone else to Russia to actually negotiate like a peace deal with Russia. So it kind of looked like Trump actually was playing a little bit of 3D chess to kind of get out of that war. So, I'm not going to say I'm 100% sure that, the war in Ukraine is going to continue, but I'm leaning towards, yes, it's going to continue. And the reason why is because it feels like, if you look at the overall picture of what's happening in the world right now, I don't know if you heard the news, but now the UK and France are preparing to send their own troops, like over there as quote unquote peacekeepers to Ukraine. However, they can't be considered peacekeepers unless both sides of the conflict agree to allow in peacekeepers. And Russia has said that they're not going to let people who are openly hostile to them come in to quote unquote keep the peace in this conflict. If there are any peacekeepers, it has to be led by people in neutral countries, not led by the most hostile countries in the world towards Russia. So if you look at what Trump's doing, he's not actually coming out and condemning like what Britain and France are saying. He's not coming out with the strong voice and saying, hey, I strongly disagree with you guys doing this. You guys should not do this. Do not move forward. What he's saying is, well, as of right now, I'm not going to provide you the backstop. You can't do anything without me. I'm not going to provide you the backstop. But he's not really taking that statement to the next level and saying, don't do it. I disagree with it. You have to stop. And he's not really calling them out for it. So it kind of feels like we're being set up in a situation where Trump will be able to tell his supporters, look, I want peace with Russia. I did everything I could to negotiate peace with Russia. But now look, we sent, Europe sent peacekeepers over there to Ukraine and Russia attacked them. And we can't just let our buddies in Europe, get beaten up by big old bad Russia. So we need to support them. So I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if, we have the capacity to fight in Ukraine as well as fight against Iran. And then even now, China is coming out and saying we're ready for any type of war that Trump wants, no matter what that is. And, the other guy, Pete Hegseth, is essentially, puffing up his chest too. So it kind of feels like we're in a situation where Trump could be trying to take on the entire world, like at the same time. And if you think about it logically, like Russia and China, while there isn't an official military alliance like that's been signed in paper between the three countries, Russia, Iran, and China, Russia and China do back Iran's right to, have nuclear facilities. They do like support them, in a lot of their efforts. And I'm sorry, Russia and Iran do actually have a formalized agreement to provide each other with weapons and all that too. So they are moving towards like that pact. So if you really look at it, if we ended the war in Ukraine right now, that would mean Russia could take all of its energy and invest that in helping China and Iran back themselves up and protect themselves from any American efforts. So if you're thinking strategically, I don't know. Do you really want to give Russia like that breathing room? And just knowing that they essentially just defeated NATO, like in Ukraine, not NATO soldiers, but all of NATO's equipment. They've shown that they can blow up all of our stuff and they can shoot down all of our missiles. So, do we really want them being able to share all of that technology and all of that help with the next two people we're going to war with? So it kind of feels like the longer you keep Russia distracted, the easier it will be to accomplish your next goal. So at the same time, we also have to recognize that the Ukraine war is not popular here in America. So Trump has to maintain like some support. Like if he just crashes down to a 15%, 20% approval rating right now, then people are going to be out. People are already in the streets protesting him, but it's only Democrats and they're protesting him over largely superficial reasons. If the whole country gets united against Trump, then he'll have serious issues. So if he can, really quick, if he can just sell to his base, like, hey, I tried my best to negotiate. It didn't work, but look at big old bad Russia. So we got to take them on too. A lot of his base, unfortunately, may go along with that.
They might, but I have to say, between the Democrats and the Republicans, we are seeing a lot more vocal pushback. They're not in the streets per se, but they are online. They are furiously
For sure.
mad at all of the instigation going on in the Middle East right now by the guy they voted for that claimed to be the peace president. So we like seeing that. What I don't like seeing is, as you mentioned, on one hand, you mentioned the Democrats are furious. They are in the street. They weren't in the street when Biden was president, pushing all these same wars. I mean, literally started the Ukraine war, the illegal proxy war. Started the genocide. I mean, this guy's the worst, and they had nothing to say back then. So if Trump's base is actually going to hold him accountable, and the Democrats are now furious and are in the street, you'd think that they could figure out a way to work together. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, because when the Democrats look over and see MAGAs getting mad at Trump, they just like to laugh and go, aha, told you, ha ha, not with no idea that perhaps maybe we should all figure out how to get on the same side and be
The
against the
Democrats are an exclusionary party. They look for reasons
Yeah,
to ban people and push them
yeah,
away
exactly. Yeah,
instead of trying to search for common ground.
yeah,
That's my biggest issue with the Democrats.
yeah. And it's too bad, because they could do some good right now saying,
Mhm.
hey, it looks like you guys are understanding more about the war machine. Guess what? We're learning about it too. We made some mistakes. You might have made some mistakes. We've all made mistakes. You know why we made mistakes? Because we were fooled on purpose, and we're not going to fall for it anymore. That would be something mature both sides could do, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Um Here's something that just came up, Jay, regarding Trump and Putin, because we knew about a 90-minute phone call that was going to take place. It seems that that has happened. Trump and Putin has concluded, as of a few hours ago, Trump and Putin has concluded a 90-minute phone call, and the Russia government officially has now stated, and this is a quote from the Russian government. I'm reading this off of Twitter right now. Under the leadership of President Putin and President Trump, the world has become a much safer place today. That sounds very promising. I just grabbed a clip. This is a coverage of that. This just happened, and then Fox News covered it, and I think this other indie right-wing channel also covered it. Let's hear the coverage. Just from a couple hours ago.
This is a social media post from Fox News stating that President Trump and Russian President Putin are currently speaking on the phone about ending the war in Ukraine after President Trump's statement that, quote, many elements of a deal to end the conflict have been agreed to. You are taking a live look right here on the left-hand side of your screen of the White House. On the right-hand side of your screen, that is a live look of the Kremlin from Russia right there, as both leaders, President Trump and Russian President Putin, are currently on the phone speaking about a potential ceasefire on Ukraine. I did want to bring you the very...
Okay. That sounds good. That sounds good. I'm going to just put this. This is the actual quote from the Russian government after this meeting has concluded. It was 90 minutes. So this was a coverage during the meeting we just saw. So yeah, I just want to do good on this so you guys can see. You heard it first here on the Homeless Left. This is the actual statement from the Russian government under the leadership of President Putin and President Trump. The world has become a much safer place today. Jay, this looks like it's not bad news for sure. This is good, right? This might call into question because you're on the fence and I've been on the fence. We even despite the horrible performance by Marco Rubio, Trump might be in spite of his horrible performance, Trump might be getting this done on his own. What's your take on this?
Well, I mean, if you look at what happened when he was in office last time, he did order the Afghanistan troops to come home. He ordered the withdrawal of them. That didn't happen. So the deep state does find ways to undermine him. So the question now becomes, is he saying these things knowing that they're going to undermine him? And is this all part of a plan to make him look like the good guy who just can't control, like the deep state from undermining him? I mean, I don't know. Nothing's been signed yet. So it is positive that we're talking with Russia. That's definitely a plus. But I guess the big wild card is what's going to happen if Britain and France do follow through to actually send peacekeepers over there, because, that's what seems to be happening right now. And let's not forget, at the end of the day, Trump can lie. Like, he can simply tell Putin what he wants to hear over the phone. And then if Britain and France decide to do something, and the question now becomes, are we going to back Europe, or are we going to back Russia, or are we going to stay out of it? I don't know. I don't know how that part, is going to wind up going. So it's positive that we're talking with Russia. So if you were to ask me, do I think, the Ukraine conflict, if that's in a better place today than it was when Biden's in office? Yes, I will say I think it's in a better place today. However, am I convinced that we're still not going to, continue supporting it and, backing it up in some way or another? I'm not convinced that we're all the way out. But it does seem like, Trump is at least trying to say the right things to Putin. But again, maybe it's simply to get him to let his guard down. Now, will Russia actually do that? I doubt it, but that could be part of his plan. So, but I'd love to be proven wrong. Like I said, I go back and forth on this issue, but if everyone around Trump is saying this thing is going to continue, this thing is going to go on, but Trump himself says the right words, the last time we were in that situation, Trump was the one who got steamrolled. So now the question is he really part of the steamrolling? And is this all an act to keep the support of his followers? And is it just like a misdirection, of what's actually happening? I don't know. But overall, it's good that we're talking to Russia. I'll give Trump credit where it's due.
Absolutely. I'm 100% with you, Jay. We have to talk to our adversaries. We have to, especially if you think they're planning on taking over the whole planet. I mean, you want to have a discussion. So a 90-minute phone call with the two of them, and with Russia saying that we're in a better place, the world's in a better place after the phone call. That's their official story. That's great. I'd like to see the neocon liberals, and we call them neocons now, the Bernie Sanders out there. I can't wait to see their response to this. How dare Trump and Putin have a 90-minute phone call, and Russia says that we're in a better place. Oh, yeah, that's coming. So yeah, watch out for that one, guys.
What's the matter, Matt? Are you scared of nuclear war? Come on, man. Don't be scared of nuclear war, man. This is Putin we're talking about, man. Putin.